Good morning, good morning, good morning. Praise Jesus. Yeah, I think something's going on with the notifications. Did you get a notification? Because on both of my phones I didn't get one. And I'm like, wow, that's interesting. Like either that or they go out slow because I know that like most of the time, like if people aren't already here, then like it takes like I don't know 2-3 minutes or whatever before it'll go from like 2 to like 5 like at like 4 minutes, but like this is extra slow. So what's going on, Michael? I was going through a lot of scripture about like the fruits of the spirit, right? I wanted to check my own spirit, right? Like I'm not even sure if this is really how it works, like I get the impression that it's like more automatic than anything, but sometimes I like to look at verses about like fruits of the spirit and see if that's right. Right, mercies are truly new every morning. Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's great, man. I'm glad you're having an amazing start. And sometimes it's reassurance, right? Like sometimes, like you're like, wow, my spirit is really lining up with this stuff, Or you remember how like it was real popular like I don't know 25 years ago about where people had these like bracelets or necklaces like what would Jesus do? And it seemed kind of like I mean I wasn't a Christian then I don't think, but like it seemed kind of corny at the time. But now if you really think about it, it really is. That's everything right there. It's like am, am I becoming more like him? What would he do in this scenario? And so it's weird how like you go through life and you're like you throw out certain like gauges of like okay this is how I should be or this is how I should act, like you throw it out early in life and then swing back around and you're like ooh that was a good tool, I should have been doing that, like why didn't that sound good to me the first time through, it would have saved me a lot of time. And I didn't realize just well once you realize what this world is, right, and that it's absolutely a world where where Jesus is our Lord and Savior. There's no doubt. It's not about religion. It's not about any of that. It's just about accepting reality. And so once you know that this is our world, and He was the best to ever do it, and then on top of that, right, He's God too, right? So it's like everything all in one, right? Everything that we need. And talk about a perfect understanding of like what we go through and how we feel and how like, we get tired and that kind of stuff. I don't think he ever ate a Twinkie or anything like that, but obviously like if he did he would know that's poison, right? Like it's weird though, like sometimes I'll go a very long time without drinking like a soda or something like that, like sometimes a year, right? And then I'll take a sip of a soda and it'll taste like straight up poison to me, man. Just straight up poison. Well, there's four in the box. It's just a lot of people don't like to click in the chat, man. Like there's like two or three people that just text me while they're watching, you know, and then they'll text me during the thing, their little thoughts and ideas or whatever. And it's just a matter of like, I don't know. We get far more clicks afterwards. The live show is not really that popular, to be honest. Like, if we get 15 in here, that's crazy big, man. But it would get hard to manage at some point. As long as people are watching after and they're enjoying it or whatever, that's fine with me. It's really about leaving all this behind, right? Because if if there's a rapture and we get taken out of here, we want to. Well, see, Matt, I'm thinking of even going an hour longer, even, like an hour later. Hey, what's up, Mark? And so, yeah, Matthew, I was thinking about even going one more hour, because someone else said that, like, yeah, if it was later, even later, it's better for them. The reason I went down to 6 o'clock, which is, it's early for me too, but I'm up all night, right? I don't sleep at night. It's the only time I ever get anything done, because there's only two people really competing for my time at that time. And then I could do one at 3 a.m. But the reason I did it at 6 is because it improved the content. I had people that were helping me that could like really carry the show, like on their own if they had to. And so like it was more entertaining. But now if it's not going to be entertaining, if it's going to be the same, right? Then it's better that it's later, I think. But I mean, I wish I could sit on here and just read Proverbs, because that's really like what we need, man. But unfortunately, people don't. I don't know. I don't know why nobody shows up for that. But so I was reading about a lot of these verses on fruits of the Spirit. Of course, I read the Bible in context like 99% of the time. And so once in a while, I like to, get all the verses on a certain thing. And like, that's interesting how they go together. I'm still learning, guys. I don't know. I mean, I think I learn more and I hear God's voice more when I'm reading through a whole book at a time, But other people will learn differently. I don't know. So, Galatians chapter 5, verse 22. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. And I love that. I love that, man. Like whenever they start talking about like against this or against these feelings or there's no law, it means that like to me, right? Like if you're doing all these things, right, then you're not going to be in trouble. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to I love it when it's about love, That like if you love God, you don't need to be told what not to do. If you love your neighbor, you don't need to be told don't steal his property or look at his wife or anything like that, because you wouldn't do it. What did I do here? Did I do something weird here? Okay. And then 1 John chapter 4 verse 16, God is love. Whosoever lives in love lives in God, and God in them. I love that. I like any language like that where they talk about, it with God inside you. I love that. Matthew says, I agree with that. It's not our feelings or the law. It's what's right and just. You just feel it's right. Yeah, I mean, okay, so we're commanded to love, right? Commanded to love God and love each other. If I'm loving you, right, I don't need to be told not to borrow your lawnmower and like, vandalize it and then return it, because that's, you know, that wouldn't be an act of love, right? And that's kind of how I gauge things, right? Like, I don't even mind if someone comes at me in a harsh way, right? Even though I don't like it, right? If I see the love behind it, right? Like, oh, okay, they they want me to get right so that I'm better, you know? They're really loving on me by being. But if you can't see the love or the intention that this person is loving you, then it's not. I don't know, right? I get that feeling too, like when people like debate the Bible. I like some of them. Like there's some of them are very valuable, and it's like very, it's very, you know, I learn a lot, you know, during some of them. But sometimes like the spirit of it could just be off, you know. It's more about being right than about like building people up or whatever. Just the spirit of it will be wrong. And you could feel that, you know. You're like, are they trying to trap each other and stuff, or is this like they're trying to really learn about what's right? Because sometimes people pick their narrative before they even show up there, and then they have their little verses to corner you into stuff, and you're like, oh, okay, so it's more of a game than anything, right? Like, I I always used to think that it was serious, you know, that it was about like learning the most true thing. But I guess it depends on how somebody's dug into that. I don't know. So I always try to like think about, well, what would Jesus do with the Bible? He would probably try to build people up and tell them the truth, try to get them to understand like what's happening before they die, be forgiving, you know, these types of things, right? And then you see like how the Pharisees were with the Bible, right? Um, you know, asking these absurd questions to get Jesus to answer a question a certain way, right? And always trying to trap him in something. And that's not I don't think that's a good spirit, you know, to be that way, you know. Michael says, I'm happy I got the Lord to go to and receive love, not condemnation. Right, exactly, Mark, right? Exactly. And see, I mean, he wants us to come to him. Like, he wants us to make it. So if we go to him, every time we're confused and get guidance, he's going to guide us. You know, I don't know why, you know, I don't know. It just kind of got revealed to me too. Like maybe I always knew it, but like now I'm looking at it in a different way. That instead of having the perfect definition for something, just read everything I can in the Bible about it, and then ask God to guide me. Honestly, you know, every day. And I don't know. I don't know why that's the most of a guarantee that you could possibly get. Because who would know more than, you know? Because I think like the temptation is there, and I've said this a few times the last couple shows, right? The temptation is there to go to some other channel where they're saying what you want to hear so that you feel better, you know? And that's not the answer, you know? It's not about like finding the 5 people on the internet. Okay, yeah, they're all saying the same thing, and I feel better because they agree. Well, I don't know if that's the best way to go about it. I think you take your confusion and your fear and your insecurity and you take it straight to God until it's resolved, you know? Yeah, Jesus called them a brood of vipers, huh? Matthew says, I see life as a game, but in a God-loving way. I've constantly got to get to the next level, and betterment of my character does not stop my character, stats, abilities, morality. Oh, okay, like a video game? Yeah, that's pretty cool, I guess. I mean, it's like you versus the world, right? And it's like you and God. You wake up and like everyone's a character in your world or something like that. Like that's interesting. Physically or mentally, spiritually, or whatever the challenge God has set. Right. You know, I think that God puts us in exactly where we're supposed to be in a purposeful way to affect people. It must be hard to manage all that. You know what I mean? Like to have exactly the right thing for each person at exactly the right time and then leave choice in all of it, right? Hey, official facts checker, how you doing? Oh, is that what people call you, facts? Facts? Because I did call you, like, I forget what I called you the first day. I called you Peggy or something like that. I felt bad about that. I think it's because somebody was saying that in a text close to you one day, and I don't know, I latched onto that. I try to call people by their first names, you know. Hey Alex, how you doing? Well, I know this, right? I know that um if if I keep my mind on God, right? If I go straight to him with everything, then these things that I get involved with, they get me upset or could get me emotional. Because sometimes I like the things that'll get me emotional is if like I'm I'm really counting on somebody, I really believe in them and they disappoint me. Like and you're like, wow, like I I really had a high opinion of like maybe you know, I fall in love with people's um potential, you know. And that's on me. That's not on them, you know. It's I mean, it's a problem in me if I'm upset about some expectation that I have, you know. And so like if I go straight to God with all of that, then it those things don't bother me. I wouldn't get emotional. I wouldn't get personally attached or connected to somebody. I mean, it's better. I mean, to me it feels better if you're like, wow, I'm really proud of this person. I really think this or I'm pleased with this person. I don't like to use that word proud anymore. But like I'm really pleased with this person. I'm really getting behind them, you know. And maybe that's not the way to go, you know. Even though it feels good to care about people, you know. Matthew says, "My challenges and persecutions in life have broken other people, and I have flourished under strain." Right? Like you mean like a challenge that you flourished under has broken other people, or that like a challenge that you're facing is breaking people. We all get hard times, but it's how you. Okay, so it's either or. It's a challenges and persecutions would normally break somebody, but not you. I see what you're saying. I mean, well, see, that's a hard one too, right? Because you're like, if people are connected to God, they should be able to handle anything. And you know, like I try not. So I used to say stuff like, okay, well, you know, we're only human, whatever, right? And but then like I got some complaints about that, right? Like, well, you could do all things if God, with you know, you could do all things with Christ, and you could be perfect if you know you could, but are we likely to? No. But even saying that is, it's like saying this, right? Here's a better way to put it. God says you can move mountains, right, with a mustard seed worth of faith, right? Am I going to move a mountain in my life? No, but I have to believe that because that's what it says. You know, I believe that I could, even if I never do, you know. And it's some of these things are just like it like blows your mind when you think about them, you know, because there'll always be a like something in between here and moving a mountain that will make it true, you know. And you're like, oh yeah, what about that time, you know? Maybe it's not about moving a mountain. Maybe it's believing you can move a mountain so that the thing that's less than moving a mountain doesn't overwhelm you, you know? because your belief is what it is. It's your faith. You know, is there a Goliath in your life? I like that. I like that. That's a good statement. Just on its own, without, I mean, just leave the open-ended question: is there a Goliath in your life? Because that's what that extra faith is for, right? You know, you're like, oh God, I'm not even that, not even right? Like, okay, God, here we go again. Let's get it. They don't believe us again. Let's see what happens. And so, like, but to be honest, right? There's times where I'm like, you know, forgiving 70 times 7 and trying to love people through even treating me horribly, right? Just not even using that as like okay, they may be treating me bad, but it has nothing to do with my love. It has to be unconditional. And then really putting myself out on a ledge to be abused, right? And then seeing God come through for me, right? And protect me. It gives you such great confirmation, right? Because you're like, wow, like I did nothing to protect myself, and it happened. But then sometimes you got to be afraid of like, well, I get afraid of like, you know, almost developing an ego behind that. You know, you're like, man, how do I keep myself even out of feeling happy about that? You know, I mean, half the battle is keeping my own self out of the way. If I wouldn't ruin it, I would enjoy it. You know what I mean? It's mostly me against me. Has anybody else faced that where like you're the only one making things hard for you and like everyone else is just being cool or whatever? Oh yeah, Alex, I love that. I love that. No, but it's real, right? It's a question you can ask yourself, right? Like even on a daily basis, right? Like, is there a Goliath in my life? Like, what am I facing today? Maybe there's not. Maybe you don't need all that, you know? Hey Chris, what's going on, buddy? Did you find out about the job, man? I'm so pumped up, man. Watch, they're gonna call you like, oh yeah, we need you to come back for a third interview, you know? It's the one right before the fourth and fifth interviews. You know, those like never ending string of interviews. They're always inviting you back. Now that would be a nightmare. Completely a nightmare. Matthew says, being homeless, fought addiction, being in actual war zones, experienced death first, second, and third hand, maybe caused death, but of God not guiding me to do better, leaving old choices. Right, yeah. I mean, that sounds like a lot of trials. Says, and many others do most likely. Sometimes you have to say no to an order. Yeah. Very difficult. Very difficult. Because what do, you know? What do you do? Except pray a lot, right? Pray a lot. Because I know that when I first, because I never been to a theater or anything like that, or never been deployed. But just I had a completely different attitude and belief structure, right? When I joined the army than I do now. So who knows what I would have done thinking it was okay or right or whatever. And I mean, there's no way to judge like, you know, like what would I have done or what could I have done? Like, you know, you just it is what it is, right? And so difficult, right? So difficult, man. So my heart goes out to you, man. I bet that wasn't easy. And I bet that that's something to deal with now. Hey John, how you doing, buddy? Yes, I remember. I do. I remember. Yeah, that was a good show, man. Actually, I felt pretty. It was a positive vibe, man. There's a lot of people praying for each other, and it's So Chris says not yet. I'll let you know by next week. Yeah, man. I mean, wouldn't that be great, man? To have like, I just like to see things working out. Like, especially if you get a good streak going, it's like, yeah, man, things are really starting to work out. But I try not to like. I used to do this, right? This is what I used to do. I used to go. well, if this, and this happens, then I'll be happy. Or, once I get to this level, then I'll be good. But in reality, I was already good to begin with, and always waiting to waiting for it to be good. Sorry, guys, I needed some water. Matthew saying, the thing that got me was I didn't, and I still don't feel about the doing part. Since trying to be a good follower, I see myself very different, but not in a self-hate sort of way. Good. Yeah, it's just growing, right? There's some things that I think about, just regular things that aren't so heavy like that, where I'm like, well, I'm a little embarrassed about how I acted, but I didn't know any different at the time, so I don't judge myself for it or feel horrible. I don't feel convicted over it, but would I do it different now? Of course, I mean, some of this, I mean, we've been lied to about everything, man. So it's like, how do we even know what's even real, It's, hey, Ann, how you doing? Yes, a basket of love. See, that's great. That sounds good. I mean, when I was a little kid, I was just talking to Stephanie about that, right? Like you talk to your teacher. She had a good relationship with her teacher. But then you find out about, dinosaurs and monkeys, and you come from a monkey, and fish grew feet and ran around, and they tell you with a straight face, and you're like, wow, this is somebody that I love and I trust, and more than a teacher, like a friend, a family member. And just how disappointing that is, when you learn that it's not true, and it's either they were fooled or it was intentional, and you're like, wow, man, like what's going on with the world, Matthew says, I think my guidance is right, and although sorrow fueled it originally, now it's a pleasure to be trialed and to do better. It's kind of happy. I know it's what I was designed for. Yeah. Once you fit in your purpose, right? Like it almost feels better than feeling good. Does that make sense? Is that a good way to word it, right? Like you're being in functional in your purpose feels better than even feeling good. Because you're right where you're supposed to be. You fit. So I think so much we go through life, especially empathetic type critical thinkers like us, right? Like we spend a lot of time feeling out of place, like where we don't really fit. It's like no one ever told us we weren't cool, but we never felt cool or part of the clique or always. And then when people ask us stuff, it's like, oh, we're always explaining things to people, getting resistance, like being called an idiot when you're right. You know what I mean? Like these things are hard to accept, right? It's like you're gonna be called an idiot by the majority, and you could be right. It doesn't matter. Then you start learning how the world really works, right? Mark says, I'm such a small sect, understanding the words of the prophet. Yes. I'm nothing. I can't figure any of it out, I just read it for face value, Mark, and I just believe it, And now I'm learning that my opinion or my definition of things, right, doesn't matter at all. And it only causes it only opens the door, right, for someone not to like it. You know what I mean? It's like, well, if you want to get saved, then there's a lot of stuff in the Bible about being saved, and then just go straight to God. He'll guide you through it. Biggity bam, right? I don't have to have an opinion about that. It's all in there, and I believe it. There's no, it's bulletproof, right? But so much people want to know, like, okay, well, how would you word it? Well, it doesn't matter how I would word it or how I think about it, right? It matters, do I believe it or not? And you know, and going to God and having him guide me through it. And you know, my opinion doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I think. And I think that that's how the enemy does it, right? Like, oh yeah, my little belief is more important than yours. Not saying there's not a true belief, because there is. It's in the Bible, right? It's not really there for private interpretation anyway. It is the way it is, you know. John wants help. Okay. Let's see here. I can help. What do you need help with? It's pretty vague. I don't think I could help you financially, you know, you know what I mean? But, you know, maybe with some stuff. Matt says, I've literally pulled birds from the mouths of wildcats. And even if they still died, I was happy knowing they didn't experience. Whoa, wow. That's the thing, right? The world uses that empathy against us, because here's the thing, right? And I'm not saying it's an excellent gift to have, right? But it caused me a lot of pain thinking that everyone has the same amount. Like how, you know how like when you and me are talking, you can feel how I feel, and like, you know, if you've upset me and it kind of hurts a little bit, like you feel for me or something, you know, like, so a lot of people don't have that as part of them, right? They don't feel your half. They only feel their own half. And it's not because they're bad. It's just it's not part of them, right? They have some other gift. Maybe they could throw a fastball 90 miles an hour and you can't, right? But you have empathy. It's just a gift, right? Some people are good with numbers, you know, some people are good with feelings. And it is what it is, right? But like sometimes like you just absorb all these negative feelings and you wonder why no one else cares. Like, why don't you care about what's going on out there? It's like they just don't feel that, what you're feeling. So there's no drive to figure it out, you know? Yeah, see what I'm saying? Official facts checker, right? We used to think that everyone was like us inside, right? Like, why are you intentionally being mean to me, man? Like, I'm totally considerate of your feelings, right? And you just come at me crazy, you know? But they have no idea what you're talking about. They look at you like you're nuts, you know? And you're like, oh, so you don't think about how I feel. I mean, there's really not that many people that have it's called an internal monologue, right? It's not a good or a bad thing. It just is what it is. I thought everybody had that, where you keep thinking all day long. It's a narrative. It's all day long. You think, right? I had no idea there's people that aren't thinking anything. Then you go up to them and then they start thinking. I had no idea that was even possible. But to come to find out that this internal monologue is rare. It's not common. Even though everyone I know has it, because we all kind of like attract each other, find each other somehow. You know, it's weird, man. It's weird because like there was even this guy, right? He was asking this other guy. He goes, when your boss comes up to you and says, "Hey, you got to work late," you don't have thoughts like, "Oh man, this guy, man, you know, blah blah blah," right? You know, a whole narrative, right? He said, no, I hear the news and then I get frustrated and then I go to work. And I'm like, what? I'm like, so you don't even start thinking until you're engaged with or something? Like, is that what happens? Like, other than that, you're not thinking anything, like, at all? And to me, that's weird. And to them, thinking all night and then, you know, while you're trying to sleep and having thoughts that are racing, all that's weird to them. And so who knows how it all works, you know, and who knows what all, you know, what we're eating and what we're experiencing on TV and what we're, you know, all these things that affect us, right? Music for some people, right? I mean, everything's a variable that affects us, so we don't even know what that does to our thinking. And Rob says being narcissistic is a virtue in this fallen world. Yeah, man, it seems like a lot of people, man, right? It's like, let it go, right? Like, I don't know, man. I don't know, man. You know, there's a lot of people in this world, right? They can't ever apologize. They don't. They won't ever admit that they're wrong. They'll never apologize, and they can hold grudges forever, right? That's why when I read stuff like Fruit of the Spirit, I'm like, if I'm a Christian person and you're a Christian person, there's no way we should ever have a fight that lasts longer than an hour. You know what I mean? Like the next day I'm going to be okay again, you know, just let it go, right? Like, or fix it. It's the unwillingness to do it, right? The unwillingness to let God guide our steps. People want to do stuff on their own, you know. And I'm no expert at it. I just know that when I do what I'm supposed to do, it's not even that. When I live in the Spirit, things go better for me. And so I don't know, just what do you do, right? Because I mean, like, they give you this image in the mainstream that like all these rules that God put in place are there just to, hold you down somehow. But in reality, every rule is there for our benefit. Like, it's better for us to just follow the rules, right? Like, or to even just do no evil, right? Just think the right way, or that kind of thing, right? It's beneficial to us. And then when you see just how degraded things get when, people start getting into these things little bit at a time, then the extreme version of what that is shows up, and you're like, oh, well, I didn't expect, this isn't what I pictured when I said you could do that. You know what I mean? And oh yeah, okay, so you said something about help, and then you don't. I can help though if you need help. I mean, I don't know. Oh, you're saying hell. Are you saying hell instead of help? I don't know. Your hell phone. That's funny, man. So are you going to keep going? Mike, what do you mean, Mark? That's a good question. Well, I don't know. I don't know anymore, Mark. Like I get the sense when I pray that it's something big is gonna happen. It's gonna be a lot of work, and then it's gonna be over soon. So I don't know what that means, you know? I'm not gonna predict any rapture dates. It could just be that this is over. I don't know. But change my name to Skippy and watch Flat Earth videos all day. That sounds very entertaining. No stress, right? But it's not even stress. I mean, it is stress, but I enjoy it though. I enjoy it, every part of it, even the hard parts, right? Rob says, what this world values and what God, yes, they are. They are. They're diametrically opposed. They're opposites. There's two ways, right? I was just thinking about this, right? And Rob, man, that brings up a great point. Okay, I was just thinking about this, that you can feel better two ways, right? One, you can do what God says to do and separate from the world completely, separate, because the world is not what we want. It's the opposite, right? Or you could become one with the world, right? You can go in all the way, right? The only time that it's uncomfortable, right, is when you're trying to be in both places. And that's for everybody. That's not just for people that are Christian or people that are worldly. If you try to be in both places, it's not going to be comfortable. And so there's going to be times where you can separate from the world and feel better. But the problem is you want to take the people that you love with you, and sometimes you can't take them out. So you go back in for them, you know. And I was just thinking about that. I don't know if that's real. I mean, if that's true or not. But these are the thoughts that were coming to me. And I'm like, okay, so you know, if I just sit there and let the Spirit talk to me, eventually something will resonate, you know. Matthew Hall says, I think the rapture has been misunderstood and everyone will face their own version. Sure, yeah. I mean, it's so hard, right? To sometimes things will happen like in a way where we didn't expect it at all. Some things are going to be clearly defined, you know. It's hard to say, right? Rob says, yes, Steve, sometimes I catch myself trying to be in both places. Yeah, that's what makes it stressful. Like if you were just like at one with the world, you know, like nothing exists. Everything is about right now. I'm in the world. I'm part of the world, you know. For some reason that feels good to people, man. There's monks, man, that base their whole life on that. And I didn't realize that's what was happening. You know, like that's what they were doing. They're getting rid of, you know, any opportunity of ever going back for God, right? When God tells us to separate from this place is not real. God is real. This place is fake. But the world wants you to think it's opposite. This place is real and God is fake. That's what they want. It's opposite. And so we're living in a lie. There's nothing good here. There's nothing here for us. There's nothing here for us. This world fell on, like, I don't know, the third page. I don't even know what page it was. Very close to the beginning. And it's not a big surprise, right? Like the whole thing is about reconciling us back to God so we could get out of here. And Matthew Hall says, say all my people have joined me and the rest may just be burned up. Dad to think about, but it's my logic. Like Christ and God won't take their soldiers off the battlefield. Yeah, I mean, that was very hard for me. Is you know, my dad died. To be honest, I don't think he was a believing Christian person. I don't know. I don't think he believed enough. He said he did at times, but he had you know, he battled a lot of things, you know. And so I don't know, right? Now, you know, I don't know what hell is going to be, right? I don't know exactly what to believe about it, right? I just know that whatever it is, right, that it's fair, right? That God knows what he's doing and I trust him. And there'll be things about it that I don't understand, right? That I will be able to understand later. And so there's nothing to worry about. Like everybody gets a fair chance, you know? And like I was even having thoughts of like hell being you know, you go in that lake of fire and poof, you burn up, you know? And because it's like you don't really ever hear, you know, you would think you would hear it clearly, like, you know, the wages of sin is burning forever, or you know, you hear the wages of sin is death, right? And you know, Jesus paid our price, he died, right? If it was burning forever, I don't know, would it be different when wouldn't it be more clear, like you know, like there'd be some scripture that says and so never believed, so he's in somewhere burning forever. Now at the end it says the devil and his angels, right? And the smoke of that will be forever and ever, right? And so there's that, right? But angels can't die, so I don't know how that goes. But I think we all have family members that we don't know if they made it or not, right? And like there's no way that that's not a fair thing, right? Like however it turned out, God knows what he's doing. And I never want to think about my dad not like, like that. It's hard, but I don't think anybody gets tricked out of it, or I don't think there's any technicalities where it's like, oh yeah, you thought you were, loving me this whole time, and psych, that's not the God I know. The God I know meets you where you're at and is very forgiving. The thing about it is you got to want him. That's the whole thing. If somebody doesn't want it, they're not going to get it. That's the hard thing to understand. Official facts checker said, it says where the beast and false prophet are. Yeah, right. So we can't tell, right? Well, yes, it is eternal punishment for them. Yes, for sure. I have no doubt about that. That's for sure. And I know that like there is punishment, like that's more than just poof, right? Like there's gnashing of teeth. There is periods of time of punishment. But then like, you hear things like, okay, well, the earth and death and the grave all goes in the lake of fire. Then it's like, well, then what? Is everything gone at that point? And then it's new earth. And so, yeah, it's tough to reconcile, right? So this is the way I look at it, right? This is the way I look at it, is like, I can't prove that it's not true. And so, yeah, it's still very, right. It's still very much there, I would love for you to show me to go over it. Even if you wanted to come up and talk about it, I'm cool with that. I can't even wrap my head around that, me neither. It's hard to like reconcile that. So that's why I got to think that there's something my little noodle brain can't understand that I will understand eventually, that it's like, oh, okay, this is why that's fair. Or that there's something about people that I had no idea about, because the God that I talk to every day, God is, I don't know, I can't reconcile that sometimes. And I know that he's fair, though. He's just, so if you owe something, you're gonna pay it, I don't, I don't know. I'm not a teacher anyway, so it's like there's probably plenty of people that are qualified to teach about that. I'm not one of them. I'm happy to have the conversations, though, but don't take anything I say as anything, I'm just a guy that started cracking my Bible open 6 years ago, and so I'm new to all this. I'm a baby. And Alex says, only God is eternal. That's right. We get everlasting, right? Everlasting life. Is that how that works? God is eternal, immortal. God is immortal, right? No start, no end, right? And we are, I don't know the words. I don't know the words, how it works. Alrighty, guys. Well, it's time to hit that dusty trail. Man, we've been having big morning groups. Big for the morning. But it's good. It's good, and there's no dissension. I love it like that. I will take that any day of the week. Yeah, it's hard when we're talking about our family, right? But it's something to accept, Yeah. Well, I'll close with a scripture. Psalm 109, verse 30. Chapter 30, verse. Is that what it is? No, it's chapter 109, verse 30. I will greatly praise the Lord with my mouth. Yea, I will praise him among the multitude. Yes, absolutely. And see, I think that if you want to be saved and you go to God to be saved, then it will happen. That's the way I look at it. God is still the biggest, has the most amount of effect on this world, right? And so if God's going to help my brother with his softball game, he's going to help you with your salvation. There's no doubt. God has infinite time for everything. And there's no doubt that he wants everybody. So I guess like the moral of the story is the more we trust God and the more contact we have with him, the better off our life is going to be. And I don't think there's too many people that could disagree with that. Alrighty, guys. Praise Jesus for his sacrifice and his grace. All glory to God because he deserves it. Please pray for the children out there. Pray for anyone being victimized. Pray for each other. It's important. And I will see you guys, Lord willing, tonight at 5 p.m. California.